Hello again, U.S. history students. Mr. Deegan here, back at it. It's 4-3 VidNotes time. I am on location, reporting live in the Deegan household. The learning target, it's the same as the 4-2 VidNotes. I will understand how America expanded westward and how this expansion impacted Native Americans. The westward expansion, important to the history of the U.S. Where did settlers go? American settlers streamed, meaning traveled in large numbers, westward from the coastal states into the Midwest, Southwest, and Texas, seeking economic opportunity in the form of land to own and farm. And here's a map of all of the different territories. We talked about the Louisiana Territory, which was taken from the French, Florida, which was taken from the Spanish, Texas, which was taken from the Mexicans, and so on. Transportation helps industry. The growth of railroads and canals helped the growth of an industrial economy and supported the westward movement of settlers. Here's a map of the Transcontinental Railroad. Choo-choo! Omaha, Nebraska is where it started, and then it was built further west until you get to Sacramento, California, where the Transcontinental Railroad ended in the Pacific Ocean. You go from the Midwest to the far west. Major canals. Here are the map of some of the major canals. The most important and famous canal was the Erie Canal here in New York. But these man-made waterways were important for trade. Eli Whitney's cotton gin. Eli Whitney's invention of the cotton gin led to the spread of the slavery-based Cotton Kingdom in the Deep South. Here is Mr. Whitney, and here is his invention, where you feed the cotton plant into this machine, you crank the lever, and the seeds, which are very sharp, are separated from the clean cotton there. And the clean cotton is used to make clothing. Before this invention, workers, and I mean slaves, had to separate by hand the very sharp seed from the clean cotton. And you would often have your fingers cut by the sharpness of the seeds. So this invention made it a lot easier. Unfortunately, it also increased slavery in the South, and you might say this invention helped cause the Civil War. Texas! Let's go to Texas. It wins a battle at the Alamo. American migration into Texas led to an armed revolt against Mexican rule and a famous battle at the Alamo in 1836, in which a band of Texans fought to the last man against a superior force. In green is Texas, and this is present-day Texas. There's the capital, Austin. Just south of that is a city called San Antonio. Go Spurs! And here you have where the Alamo battle was fought. This is a painting of the Battle of the Alamo. Here you see American settlers, these Texans, they're fighting off the Mexicans, and they win. They are the underdogs, but they are able to defeat the Mexicans in this battle. And the Texans defeat Mexico fighters overall. The Texans' eventual victory over Mexican forces subsequently, meaning as a result, brought Texas into the U.S. And it all ended at the Battle of San Jacinto. It was the final battle of this Mexican Revolution, and it happened on April 21st, 1836. The battle lasted 18 minutes. General Houston went up against the Mexican General Santa Anna, and General Houston wins independence. Santa Anna, meanwhile, is taken prisoner. Houston, it's named after this general, the city, I mean. The Mexican War. We go further west beyond Texas and talk about a huge chunk of land. The American victory in the Mexican War during the 1840s led to the acquisition of an enormous territory that included the present-day states of California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, and parts of Colorado and New Mexico. All of this area in green used to be owned by Mexico, but the Americans took it over in a war. Here is President James K. Polk. He was the 11th president of the United States, and James K. Polk tries to negotiate with the Mexicans. He tries to say, "We will buy this land from you," but the Mexicans say, "No way, Polk." So what happens? War. Impact on the Indians. America's belief in manifest destiny to stretch from the Atlantic to the Pacific was embraced by U.S. politicians, but it ignored the Indians' destiny. And here you see a conflict between the Indians and the American settlers. Indian removal. During this period of westward migration, American Indians were repeatedly defeated in violent conflicts with settlers and soldiers and forcibly removed from their ancestral homelands, where generations and generations lived. And here you see a painting of that. They were confined or restricted to reservations, areas that the U.S. government said they had to live in. The Trail of Tears. This was a very tragic event. When 1838 was the date, several Indian tribes were relocated from their Atlantic coastal states to Oklahoma. And this map shows you the black arrows. The Cherokee Indians were forced to Oklahoma. The Chickasaw were forced to Oklahoma. The Creeks and the Choctaws and the Seminoles, go Florida State, were forced to move to this Indian territory, this reservation in Oklahoma. Another war with Britain. Let's talk about Britain. Here's its flag. In 1812, President James Madison asked Congress to declare war on Britain. This decision divided the nation. Different regions of the country had different interests in this war. And here is Mr. Madison, our fourth president. What happened? British interference with American shipping and Western expansionism fueled the call for a declaration of war. And here are the causes of the War of 1812. Impressment of U.S. citizens. That's right. The British Navy actually took prisoner and made American Navy men work for them. And here you see the interference with American shipping. And the British support the Native American resistance. They actually give weapons to the Native Americans so that they can fight the American settlers. What? Madison had critics. Not everyone supported the War of 1812 in the U.S. The Federalists, John Adams, George Washington, opposed Madison's war resolution. They talked of secession, meaning breaking away from America. And the Federalists proposed constitutional amendments, which were not acted upon. And after the War of 1812, the Federalist Party collapses, a lot like this building, and it is no more. America wins the War of 1812, but the Federalists collapse. We are almost done. We're on to the summary questions. Please ask 2 questions. Think of 2 questions you want to know more about. Write them down. And when you're done with that, you are done with lesson 4-3. This is Mr. Deegan signing off from the Deegan household.